Welcome to episode number 13 of the Signature Move podcast. My name is AEW. Appreciate you for tuning in. Episode 13, we're talking about AEW's new trios champs. It's not who you think it is. It's Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, and Mercedes Moné. To borrow a formula from Michael Sidgwick of What Culture Wrestling, a top shelf episode of American Pro Wrestling TV needs three things: great matches, great promos, and great angles. I'd add a fourth ingredient to that recipe: a great crowd. Because no matter how technically good a match, a promo, or an angle is, if they don't connect with the live crowd, the vibe of the show suffers, and so does my enjoyment. A big part of recent AEW TV has been tracking the performances of their three big free agent signings: Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, and Mercedes Moné. I'd say that it's fair to use the same four metrics that I judge the overall TV show to also judge an individual performer. So let's start with Will Ospreay. The matches are a given. At 30 years old, Will is probably just now entering his physical peak, but in the eyes of many, he's been the best wrestler in the world since moving up to New Japan's heavyweight division in 2020. He won the G1, he won the IWGP heavyweight title, he won the New Japan Cup. Last year, both of his matches against Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom and Forbidden Door hit the top of most match of the year lists. And if you saw his matches in TNA, Rev Pro, Progress, Noah, or wherever else he decided to touch down, you'd know that he also had the best matches for companies that he wasn't signed to. People that only know Will from the clips of acrobatic flippy-do spots shared on the internet have opinions as irrelevant as Jim Cornette's. His 2023 AEW match sample size, his 2024 AEW match sample size has been 2. At Revolution against Konosuke Takeshita in an early match of the year contender, and on Dynamite against Kyle Fletcher, it's one of the best, or among the best, that you'll see as far as the TV format goes. This week he takes on Katsuyori Shibata. More on that match at the end of the episode. Promos. A lot of people have been surprised by just how good of a promo Will Ospreay can cut. Maybe I'm one of those people too, even though on episode 2 of this podcast, I highlighted one that he cut ahead of his first match with Josh Alexander last year on an episode of TNA Impact. I knew then that he was good, but let this quote stand as evidence that he's on another level right now, probably the best in the business right now. Quote, 7 years ago I wrestled Shibata, and I've got no problem saying it. He beat the piss out of me. Would you like to know the difference between a 23-year-old Billy and right now? I'm a 30-year-old man. I've got 2 pugs, 3 cats, a kid, a missus, a mortgage to pay, and more importantly, a point to prove. End quote. 5 mics. So how can you grade a wrestler by the angle that they're in? The answer is believability. Everybody knows that pro wrestling is a show based on a sport and not an actual sport. That means the wrestlers are playing roles. So how believable are they in the role they're asked to play, and does that role serve the storyline? Will's currently in an angle with Bryan Danielson centered around Bryan's belief that while Ospreay was the man in New Japan, he's unproven in AEW. Will's stance is that he's done what Bryan couldn't do, and that's changed the game in Japan. And he's good enough, actually great enough, to elevate pro wrestling in the United States much the same way. Ospreay's relaxed but super confident when he walks to the ring. He can pal around with Tony, but suddenly deadpan the camera in a way that's reminiscent of Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a crispness and an intensity and technical prowess on display. So much so that even if you've only seen his 2 AEW matches, it's not hard to believe that he's as good as he says he is. His walk backs up his talk. So promos, matches, and believability, check, check, and check, means nothing if it doesn't connect with the people. Ospreay chants are replaced by bruv chants as soon as his theme music ends. Holy shit chants pop up after spectacular moments during his matches, but the real measure of crowd engagement to me is that sliver of space that lies somewhere between a nervous hum and full-out pandemonium. His matches live in that space. All of that added to the sprinkles of fan-made signs and fan-worn merch, and he's very obviously over. And he's just getting started. Kazuchika Okada. On an episode of the Ringside Club podcast, before Okada officially finished up with New Japan, I said that I was nervous about him appearing on weekly TV for either company, AEW or WWE, because it would be a risk of him losing his aura. a presence that always felt special because you weren't used to seeing him. It's the difference between hanging out with somebody and moving in with him. You can't hide anything anymore. I didn't want to see Okada in a backstage segment standing at an awkward angle in front of the TV screen. I also didn't want to see him in throwaway filler matches while being told from commentary that he's actually really special. A GOAT. See, by putting Okada on weekly TV, what he lost in aura would have to be replaced by really good creative to make his transition a successful one. And then he joined the Young Bucks in AEW to form the New Elite. Genius move. Okada attacked Eddie Kingston and turned heel on his debut. Okada attacked Eddie Kingston and turned heel on his debut night in the company. Since then, every segment that he's been involved in has hammered home the idea that he's just as obnoxious as Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, passport names only. It's like standing in the opposite corner to taunt Eddie while he was looking to tag one of his partners, either Pac or Penna. He's been so good that he's made Alex Marvez segments must-see TV. Like, if you didn't audibly laugh when Okada demanded that Alex sing happy birthday to Matthew, you have no soul. So Okada in the promo category has been a win, not only because he surprised a few people with how good his English actually is, but also because he's able to get his personality over. Crowd response. Yep. You hear the crowd react when he talks, when the coin drops at the start of his theme song, when he hits signature moves like the flawless dropkick or the Rainmaker itself. Speaking of which, you saw the crowd stand up as soon as he hit the Rainmaker on Eddie last week because everybody understood the match was over, and we were about to see a new Continental Champion crowned after his third match in the company. Promos, check. Crowd response because he's believable enough to be over, check. Matches. Here's the tricky part. Okada's first match lasted 2 minutes. His second match was just under 13, and both of those were trios matches, by the way. His one-on-one match with Eddie went about 15 minutes. Now, the best version of an Okada match starts off slow and builds in narrative and intensity and speed along the way so that by the time we hit the 30-minute mark, the gears already switched to Mach 5. Obviously, you can't do that on TV, so his biggest challenge is going to be condensing what makes his matches so special to the purists into a neat sub-20-minute TV package. I don't think that'll be a problem for him, but let's stay tuned. Mercedes Moné, not too much on Mercedes yet. She's been there for 2 weeks. She's already certified as one of the greatest bell-to-bell wrestlers ever. She's got classics on classics on classics on her jacket. Facts. The promos has never been her strong suit, but there's an opportunity for her to find a pocket in a non-monologue style. Put her with Marvez or Renee Paquette. They ask the questions, and she gives very straight-to-the-bullet point answers. And we're good to go. Believability. I believed every word she said during her intro promo. Her family struggles, her sacrifice, her early days learning how to wrestle in the Boston area. But right now is the time to start shedding that happy to be here shtick and lean into the essence of what people believe CEOs to be. Arrogant, somewhat delusional and selfish, but too good, too big, and too powerful to be stopped. And since there's obviously tension between Mercedes and Willow Nightingale, who's quite possibly the most likable wrestler on planet Earth, she'll have no problem getting that CEO character over. It's easy money. Before we finish him, we hit him with the signature move. This week's signature move to pay attention to is the hidden blade, the high-impact elbow that Will Ospreay delivers to the face or the back of the head of his opponent. He's facing Shibata on Dynamite on Wednesday. Now, Shibata very infamously almost died back in 2017 after headbutting Okada. He suffered a subdural hematoma, collapsed backstage, was rushed to the hospital, survived, and was basically forced into an early retirement. Bottom line, the shit got spooky. Pairing that history with the great possibility, the dark possibility, that Ospreay lands the hidden blade makes for great TV. My name is A.O. Baker. Thanks for tuning in to The Signature Move, brought to you, of course, by madebyAObaker.com. I'll catch you next week. 7:05 live right here. Peace. 10 times out of 10 I'm right. With this pen I write the thoughts of a genius, verified that I'm nice. My quotables are quotable, just ask me the price. Legend in 2 games, Steve Stout on the mic. I stand on my square, whatever circle I'm in. Circle the block before I step in the spot in this world of sin. Ain't here to be a victim, a villain. I'm here for business, sipping light beer like Mans Warner and pure denim.
Shook, got them spinning they boots. It get crazy when I get in the mood. Don't talk to me, dog, until you finish your food. Hope your image approved. Never been in it to lose. Before we finish them, we hit them with the signature.
Go, 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 go.